Welcome back. So today we're talking about selling our handmade items online, but more specifically the psychology behind it. I see time and time again people who want to make things with sewing. We're really accomplished with our sewing, aren't we? And yet when we have the thought of selling online, we suddenly say, oh, I'm not good enough. It's saturated out there. I can't compete. Well, today I'm going to banish that. If you have imposter syndrome, if my last video didn't banish imposter syndrome, then this video will, I promise you. So today I have 7 myths, if you like, or beliefs that we have about selling our handmade items online. And I'm going to tell you why, what you think is wrong, and how you can move forward and get over that hump of those negative self-beliefs and start selling and making some money online. Are you in? Let's get on with it, shall we? So the first myth I want to bust is that you think you're not good enough to sell handmade. I've got a little secret for you. You are. And if you're really not, then all it takes is a bit of practice. Maybe you think you don't sew in a straight enough line, or you're not fast enough, or some other reason why you think your sewing isn't up to the standard of being able to sell it to other people. I think it is, and I think it's something we just tell ourselves to stay in our comfort zone, don't you? We don't know what's going to happen when we put ourselves out there. If we don't try, we can't fail, can we? But how about we try and we succeed? You may well be surprised just how good your sewing is. Now, I'm someone who does suffer from this. I very rarely will even give my sewing to anyone other than really close family. And on the few occasions that I have given my sewing to people outside of my family, I always get complimented on how good my sewing is. And so it is just in my mind. I would say work out why you think your sewing is not good enough. What is it about your sewing that is not good enough? Are you not fast enough? It's not a race. You don't have to be fast. Are your lines not straight enough? Get a piece of paper with no thread in the machine and just sew on that piece of paper until you can do straight lines. It won't take that long. I reckon a day max, and you'll be sewing a lot straighter. Maybe you feel like you haven't got the resources, so you ain't got the right fabric, you haven't got the right hardware, you haven't got this, you haven't got that to make what you want to make. Then widen your perspective on that. Find a solution. If you haven't got the right fabric, the right hardware to make a bag, for example, make a scrunchie. Loads of people making loads of money off scrunchies. No one's looking at someone wearing a scrunchie and wondering what's the stitching like, are they? They're just thinking, oh, that's a nice scrunchie in her hair. Yes, you do have to have a certain level or a certain standard if you're selling it to others, but just practice. I've been making loads of scrunchies lately. It is a great little thing, and it's really quick to make as well, and it only takes a really small piece of fabric. I think I make my scrunchies like 4 inches by 23 inches, something like that. It's a great scrap buster. So the next myth I want to banish is that you think you can't succeed selling your own stuff because a lot of people are doing the same thing. If you share your stuff on Etsy, which is something we will delve into a little bit further along, but if you do somewhere like that, it is really saturated, and it can be really understandable to believe that you are just not going to succeed. But Etsy, like any other platform, has an algorithm, and if you learn that and do the right things, then you can succeed. If you want to succeed, offer something a little bit different. There's only so many ideas out there on things to sell, but how can you do it in a way that will get people's attention and stop them in their track in a way that no one else is doing? Just imagine for a minute you sell stuff and it does well. It could be life-changing. It's really worth believing. If you think you can't make it because it's saturated out there and that everyone's doing it, then that's something that you need to work on within yourself, because if it works for other people, why can't it work for you? Just think about that for a minute. Why can't it work? It can work. You've just got to find the right angle. and you've got to find your right audience. Now, if I was posting this video to a group on Facebook that were into engineering or growing plants or something, they're not going to be interested in dressmaking. If I post it on a group where they're into plus size dressmaking, I'm going to get clicks on my video. And it's the same when you're selling stuff. If you can put it in front of the right audience, you will succeed. In order to succeed, you don't have to be super popular. If you sold something, if you sold 1,000, $10 each, you can make a nice amount of money. Just 1,000 people, which, you know, that might seem like a lot, or it might not seem like a lot. Don't worry about the competition. As I talked about in my last video, just stay in your own lane and worry about what you're doing. Try and get success from what you're doing, and then you can achieve anything. So the next myth I want to bust is that you don't know what to make. Now, my good friend Alicia over at Thoughtful Creativity has just done a video. I think she shared 10 ways or 10 things that you can make in order to sell online. So do check that video out after you've watched mine. The link will be down below. As you know, Alicia is a really good friend of mine, and her video is absolutely fantastic. So if you haven't seen it, you do want to watch that. But there's lots of other videos out there that will give you ideas. Just have a Google or YouTube and have a look around what people, even do your research, go on Etsy and places like that and see what people are selling. There's plenty of things that you can do to sell. So you can make scrunchies, you can make bags, you can make a head wrap, you can make hairbands for children, you can make children's clothes, you could make jewellery. It doesn't have to be sewing, does it? You can make jewellery, you could make coasters, you can make sustainable items such as beeswax wraps. And also a little hint that if you look on YouTube, search for items to make to sell, you'll see videos, but also have a look at videos that have got lots and lots of views, and those are the things that will be more popular. And in the beginning, it can just be trial and error. Try a few things, see if they take off. If they don't, try something else. The next myth I want to bust, and this is a huge one, is that people will not pay the worth of the item that I make. We all know that everyone is looking for a bargain, especially when they're shopping online. We shop online, and one of the main reasons is to get the best price. There is an issue out there with people not appreciating handmade and the work that goes into it. You know, there's no disputing that. There is an issue around that. However, your audience is out there. If you're selling something and you're not getting the prices that you need, then you're selling to the wrong audience. There are audiences or customers at all levels that can afford. There are people who are on a real tight budget, and there are people who've got lots and lots of money to spare, and many in between as well. So if people are not buying what you're making, either you need to look at the quality, which goes back to my first point of practice to get better, or you're looking at the wrong audience, and I think it's probably that one. And so we know that if, for example, if you go and buy a handbag in the shop, well, you could get them from about £20 or $20 up to $100 or more dollars, depending on the quality that you get when you buy one in the shop. Some people will not want to pay more than they can pay in the shop. It doesn't become feasible, does it? Because if you're making a bag, once you've bought the hardware, the fabric, think about the wear and tear on your sewing machine, the labour that you've put into it, and then any fees you have for selling it. You can't make it at the shop prices, and that's because they make them en masse and can bring the prices down. Handmade has a lot more care attached to it, and that will bring a higher price. Please, please, please don't research other sellers and then undercut them to get your sale. That's not going to help anyone in the long term. You'll get a short-term gain, but it won't help you in the long term, because what will happen is sellers will keep undercutting each other, and then you'll be in a position of you're selling something for less than you're making it. And if you as an individual undercut someone else, then it devalues that thing for everyone. And so it doesn't do any favours. So actually, I would say if you do your research, see how much other people are selling it for, but just use that as a guide. If your costs and your labour, etc., come to more than that, charge more. Don't be afraid to charge more. The right people will find you. So the next myth I want to bust is that I don't know how to sell online. In places like Etsy, Folksy, eBay, etc. I just don't know how to sell. First of all, I would say don't even consider those places to begin with. Think about your friends and your family. Would they buy anything? Test the waters with them, see how you get on, and then maybe set up a Facebook page for your makes or your sales and see how you get on sharing your page out. Do you know what I would do if I was starting now and I wanted to sell? I would have a YouTube channel and I would grow my YouTube channel. Or if you don't want to be on video, I would grow an Instagram account or some other social media. Social media is so powerful. When you start to get traction, I would then go on to the selling sites such as Etsy, because they do have some quite steep fees attached to them, so it's worth considering that. But in order to learn to sell in a saturated market, you need to educate yourself. Some young girl on YouTube who has a 6-figure business from selling scrunchies. I've seen a couple of them actually. They didn't go into it knowing how to sell. They're only young girls, like younger than 20 even. They educated themselves, they learned what works and went with it. So the next myth to share with you and completely bust wide open is, I don't know how much to charge. This is a debated thing and I don't have any real answer for you. But I would say take into account the resources you use. How much did they cost you? Take into account wear and tear on your machine and any tools you needed. If you needed to buy new needles, if you needed to buy an awl, if you needed to buy a hammer, I don't know, whatever you needed to buy, take that into account. Don't charge a whole whack because you will use those things for other things as well. Take your labour into account. How much do you want to charge yourself for work per hour? If you want to charge $10 an hour or $30 an hour, work out what you want to charge and then work out how long it took you to make that thing, and then assess what it comes to. If you think it's worth it, do you need to add a bit more? And just have a think about all those things. As I say, assess the competition, but don't run your business based on the competition, and you should be able to come up with a figure. And you can always adjust that figure. You can start selling at a certain figure, and if it's not selling, you can bring it down if you want to. Or if it starts selling like hotcakes, you can increase it. It is really up to you. But there is no hard and fast rule about how much to sell. It's just something we have to learn over time. So the next myth to banish, I'm going to banish this from you. You're not going to have that imposter syndrome anymore. The last thing that I can think of that you will be telling yourself that you can't sell, and this is a reason why, is because you don't know how to get sales. Now, I've kind of covered that in other points, but as I say, it is education. It is assessing and analysing the competition. Track and measure your success. Be on social media. Social media is absolutely everything at the moment. For example, when I started on YouTube, it's really, really hard to grow a channel from complete scratch. But I was lucky enough that I had Instagram at the time, and I was able to send people from Instagram over to my YouTube channel, and that gave it that initial spark. So you just got to do all of the above and you will learn how to get sales. There are also courses you can take. I know there's various courses you can take on how to sell on Etsy. You have to be a little bit careful about the courses you pay for, but do some research and there might be one that will work really well for you. You must share your stuff out. You need to get comfortable with self-promotion. When I opened my Ko-fi account and I started coming on here and saying, at the end saying, I've got a Ko-fi account. If you enjoyed this video, do head over there and check my Ko-fi account out. I felt really uncomfortable doing that because I felt like I was asking people for money, which I was. I was asking them for money because I was giving value to them. So it was an exchange. And that's all it is when you're doing self-promotion. You're offering something to someone that will give them value. And that is an extra point that I hadn't written down, but it's come to my mind now. Don't focus on yourself. Focus on the person that you're helping out. Who are you helping out? Why are you helping them out? What value are you bringing to them? If you can answer all of those things, then you can self-promote with confidence and without shame. And on that point, if you like this video and like to see more like it, do hit that subscribe button down below. Leave me a comment because that really helps YouTube. In case you didn't realise, I do have a Ko-fi account where you can show your appreciation through monetary means and share my video out. It might help someone else. There you go. That's how to self-promote. So if you did like this video, in all seriousness, do hit that subscribe button. Click the bell as well so that you get notified when my next video comes out. Until next time, happy sewing. Bye for now.